What's going on, guys? PlotArmorCards in the house, and today I am back with Yu-Gi-Oh! Masterduel and even more Skull Servant duels. Now, I've showed you a lot of different duels with this deck, but I have to keep coming back with this deck because it is my favorite, and I use it so often, and there's so many unique and interesting duels that I use that I happen to come by that there's no way that I can't show this again. So I'm still running basically the same cards. I'm going to switch the trap cards out for infinite permanence, but I'm running so many different decks at the same time. You know, I sometimes forget to switch out cards and to buy cards. So I got 3 copies of Skull Servant, 3 King of the Skulls, 3 Rightmares, 3 Right Prince, 3 Right Bakings, 3 Lady in White, 3 Uni Zombies, 3 Right Princesses, 3 Shirani Solitaires, 2 copies of Gozuki, 1 copy of Rageki, 1 copy of Monster Reborn, 1 copy of Foolish Burial, 1 copy of Book of Life, 2 copies of MST, 1 copy of Burial from a Different Dimension, 1 copy of Hand Destruction, 2 Gravity Binds, 1 Shirani Style Samsara, and I'm running, for my extra deck, I had to get rid of a lot of the extra deck monsters just because I was forging together a lot of different decks. But even without an extra deck, this deck is still monstrous. So pretty much I'm just running Shirani's Sword Saga, and I'm running this thing, Leviathan the Sea Dragon. So without further ado, guys, let's get started on these duels. So in the past videos that I've done with King of the Skull Servant decks, I know you guys have seen me do a lot of OTK duels, and so purposely I wanted to showcase this type of deck in a long drawn-out battle against some of the top meta decks and the top decks in Masterduel. So this guy is going to be using a Drytron Dragon. You already know this entire deck is just a pain in the ass, but watch how I get over this thing slowly and slowly and slowly. So he's just going ahead and pop off his Drytron combos. I'm actually not too familiar with how Drytrons work. I know they work heavily with rituals. And so this thing is also annoying because its effect is you can attach a material and negate an activation. So that's annoying. But most of the time, this won't have a material left. I've seen that happen a lot. So then he's going to go for his ritual monster, which has 4,000 attack, 4,000 defense. And its effect is you can banish monsters on the from your graveyard and target 1 face-up card your opponent controls and then destroy it based on how many monsters you banish that have 2,000 attack. But he's not using anything on my Uni Zombie, so I'm going to use Uni Zombie's effect to send my White Baking to the graveyard. That allows me to add 2 cards and then send 1. So what I sent was my this thing, my Right Prince, and that allows me to dump 2 more in the grave. And then I'm going to use Uni Zombie's second effect, which allows me to send another version of that card from my hand, and then I'm going to banish 3 from my graveyard in order to special summon King of the Skull Servants. And then I'm going to use my Right Mare in order to special summon my banished card because I knew he was going to use his effect. So right now I have Gravity Bind and I have my Lady in White. And this guy has Drytron Asterium, which destroys my card, and then he's going to pop off even more combos. Drytron Delta Alatus is what he summons, and then he's going to destroy that in order to special summon his Drytron Gamma. And then he special summons this again. And this guy is just popping off combos on combos on combos. And all I have left is a Gravity Bind, so that at least makes it so he can't attack me. And so he's going to go into a Lairless card. Lairless is also really annoying. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my Gravity Bind. Because this thing's effect is... Let me see. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can banish monsters. Yeah, so I guess he wanted to save it for my turn. And then I draw Monster Reborn, which is the best card in this deck to bring back King of the Skull Servants, right? So then I can summon my King of the Skull Servants. He's going to use his thing's effect that sends it back to my hand. Then I'm going to use my Shirani Solitaire in order to destroy it to search and summon my Uni Zombie. Uni Zombie's effect is going to activate. I'm going to send White Baking to the grave from my deck, and then I'm going to add Right Prince, and I'm also going to add Right Mare to return a banished card. So then I'm going to use, I can discard the Right Prince in order to send 2 more, and then I can use Right Prince's effect from my graveyard to banish 3 in order to special summon another King of the Skull Servants. And this guy uses this thing's effect again. So now I have 2 in my hand that are pretty much ready for the next time. Then I'm going to use this effect again to banish, because I wanted to waste his cards in the graveyard, so I don't want him to use it again. And then he uses this thing's effect to send it to the grave, and then I just go ahead and attack. And that's all I got for now. And now with his turn, he's just going to declare battle, but I have Right Princess, so it minimizes the damage I take. And then he calls it a turn after setting 1 face down. And then it is my turn. So, and then I draw... This is probably the best card to increase your thing's attack after special summoning a King of the Skull Servants. He can't really do anything about it, so he just uses Mystical Space Typhoon, which is kind of a misplay because that's not how Mystical Space Typhoon works. My effect is still going to go through. So I'm just going to target any random 3, bring him back, and then I'm going to normal summon King of the Skull Servants, and then he's going to use this effect to get rid of it, and then it's his turn. So I'm wide open for an attack, so if he can summon anything else at all, then he probably will win this. But he uses Magical Mallet to shuffle, and I guess he doesn't draw anything because he just goes into a direct attack. And if you look at his graveyard, he doesn't have any more monsters he can banish to use this thing's effect anymore. So now I can just summon King of the Skull Servants and declare an attack and call it a game, guys. I took down a Drytron deck. This first time I've ever done that. That is an accomplishment. Next, I draw Right Prince, Raigeki, Mystical Space Typhoon, Hand Destruction, and King of the Skull Servants. So Hand Destruction in this deck is super dope because I get to destroy 2 and then draw 2. That allows me to search the specific cards, or hopefully get closer to the specific cards that I want. And this guy's using Invoked Shaddolls deck, actually. And when I send cards from my hand to the graveyard, it actually pops off various effects as well. So I'm not even tripping. I actually have a great hand just because I have Hand Destruction. And so he goes right into Invoked Mechaba, and this thing's annoying because he can negate pretty much anything by sending the same type of card from his hand, and that's only once per turn. So there are ways to work around that pretty easily. So next I'm going to draw, and I draw Right Baking, which is even better for my Hand Destruction. So first I'm going to use Raigekis to get him to waste his thing, but I guess he didn't have a spell card in his hand, so then I use Hand Destruction to send those 2 to draw 2, and then Right Baking's effect will activate, and Right Prince's effect will activate. Right Prince will allow me to dump 2 in the grave. Oh, and he's going to use Max C, which doesn't really matter because I'm going to summon one thing. So he's Right Prince is going to allow me to dump 2 to the grave, and then White Baking is going to allow me to add 2 and then discard 1. So and then I'm going to dump Right Prince to the grave, and then Right Prince allows me to dump those specific 2, and then I'm going to normal summon King of the Skull Servants, and then I was going to banish 3 to summon another King of the Skull Servants, but he has Psi Frame Gear Gamma. I think this is the first time I've seen this this negate combo being used. I know it's popular in real life, but I haven't seen it very much used in Masterduel. And so he negates my thing, but I'm still going to use my thing to special summon my banished Lady in White. Then I'm just going to end because his cards get banished anyway, so I'm not too concerned with them. And then he normal summons Eliastra the Invoker again. He's going to add his invocation, and then he's going to use it. He's going to fuse both of these in order to special summon his Invoked Mechaba again, which does have a negate. So this is something I always got to be careful for, is negates. Sometimes it can be easy to work around negates, sometimes it can't be, but this is a single negate, so it should be easy to work around. But then he uses Shaddolls Fusion, and then he's going to fuse both of those to summon El Shaddolls Construct. And I'm assuming he did this because he thought this was my King of the Skull Servants was special summon, but it's not special summon. It was actually normal summon. The one that was going to be special summon, he stopped it from happening. So, and then he's going to set the Shaddolls Hedgehog, and then he's going to use this Construct's effect, which will send his Squamata to the grave, and then he sends his Trap card to the grave, and then he's going to attack my King of the Skull Servants. Again, he thought it was special summon, but it wasn't. And then his effects were going to activate from the grave, or maybe he did that on purpose just to add his Shaddolls Schism to his hand. And then he just attacks my defense position monster. And then it is my turn, guys. So I'm going to draw. I draw a White Mare, which will allow me to get a banished one from my hand. And then I play Mystical Space Typhoon on his Shaddolls Schism, and then he's going to use its effect, and it's ultimately going to destroy my King of the Skull Servants. And now if I was smart, I would have flipped my Shiranrai style Samsara, and then I would have banished my King of the Skull Servants, and then would have used Right Mare to bring it back. But I went with a slightly different combo, so I let it go to the grave, and then I was going to use my Right Princess effect in the graveyard to banish 3 to special summon King of the Skull Servants, but I forgot about Invoked Mechaba, and it negated it. But then I still have this thing. So its second effect allows me to shuffle 2 banished in my grave with 0 attack. 0 defense, and then I can draw 2 cards. So that actually was a lifesaver. So Gozuki's effect, when I normal summon it, is going to allow me to dump 1 in the grave, and then I'm going to add, since I dumped White Baking, I can add 2 and discard 1, so I'm going to discard the Right Prince. And then I'm going to use Right Princess, which sends his attack points to near 0, if not 0, and then I'm just going to go ahead and special summon my King of the Skull Servants and just declare an attack. This deck can compete with some of the best decks in the meta and Yu-Gi-Oh! Masterduel still. So next up, I got a White Baking, a Uni Zombie, a Right Princess, an MST, and a Book of Life. So anytime I draw a Uni Zombie, it's always super dope. So he's using frogs, which is kind of a problem because if he summons Totally Awesome, which he does, it's going to be annoying to get around those negates. So he summons Totally Awesome, he ends, and then it's my turn. So he's going to use Totally Awesome's effect to special summon a frog after I draw, of course. So I draw a second Right Princess. So the mistake he made was, I'll explain after this, but I used MST on his face down card because I want him to try to waste his effect, but he doesn't do it. So his Paleozoic card goes. His mistake was he summoned Swap Frog instead of summoning Dupe Frog. He should have summoned Dupe Frog because then I would have been forced to attack the Dupe Frog. I will then use Book of Life, which allows me to banish his Ronin Totem from the grave so he can't special summon it. And then I normal summon my Right Princess. And then he uses his effect on my Right Princess's effect, which is I was hoping for him to waste it. So that will go to the grave after I use my Right Princess's second effect, which lowers his attack points. And then I'm going to use my Uni Zombie that allows me to discard my Right Baking. And now he's out of negate, so he can't touch me anymore. So then I'm going to add 2 to my hand and then discard 1. And then I'm going to use Right Prince. In hindsight, I should have used Right Princess again because that would have lowered his attack. And I should have used it before I summoned the Uni Zombie because then I could have OTK'd. Then I'm going to use Right Princess, which was kind of dumb. I should have used it beforehand. And then I'm going to banish 3 from my graveyard to summon King of the Skull Servants. And then I'm going to use my Right Mare to take my Skull Servant from the graveyard and summon to send it back to the graveyard from the banished zone. And then, see, if I had used my second Right Princess beforehand, I could have attacked directly with Uni Zombie, which still would have had 13, and I would have been OTK'd. But now is his turn, so he's going to be using his card, and then that apparently does nothing to him, so he just calls it a duel. So next, this is probably one of the best hands I've ever gotten in a very long time. Foolish Burial is dope because I can automatically send White Breaking to the graveyard, which allowed me to pop off combos. And then I draw 2 Right Princesses, which is also really cool. Right Breaking will go thanks to Foolish Burial, and then Right Breaking's effect I can add 2 and then discard 1. So obviously I'm going to discard the Right Prince after adding it to my hand. And then Right Prince's effect will activate, which allows me to dump Skull Servant and Lady in White to the grave. And then I'm going to normal summon Uni Zombie. I'm going to send my Right Prince to the grave, which allows me to send another 2. And then I'm going to use its second effect to discard 1 from my hand. But first I'm also going to chain my Right Princess's effect just because I want another card in the graveyard for my King of the Skull Servants to have more attack. I'm going to send Gozuki. Gozuki's effect allows me to banish 1 in order to special summon King of the Skull Servants from my hand, and then I'm going to use my card to special summon my banished Lady in White. Now, any other trap card that targeted me or anything, it would have automatically been destroyed, but he actually had a Metal Reflect Slime, and now that he takes 100 damage from the direct attack from Uni Zombie, he can special summon his Guardian Slime. And so this is a God card deck. It's pretty obvious that much. But I've never had this type of trouble with such a... This deck obviously isn't that top tier, but I've never had this type of trouble with this type of deck before. So I already know this thing's effect, so there's no point of even attacking it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and destroy his face down, which is... okay. That's that Spider-Man meme right there, where they're both pointing at each other. The Mystical Space Typhoon, he will Mystical Space Typhoon my Mystical Space Typhoon after I Mystical Space Typhoon his Mystical Space Typhoon. And then I'm going to use Uni Zombie. I'm going to send White Baking and just pop off the same combo again. This just buffs my King of the Skull Servants attack even more. I'm going to send Right Prince to the grave. That allows me to send my 2 cards to the grave from the deck. And then I'm going to use Right Prince from the graveyard to banish 3 in order to special summon my King of the Skull Servants. And then I'm going to use Right Mare in order to send my Skull Servant from my banished zone to the deck. To the graveyard, sorry. And then I'm going to have Uni Zombie attack his thing, and then he pops off his other combo, which allows him to destroy his card to summon the Metal Reflect Slime. And then I wanted to get rid of Guardian Slime for sure, because then he could go into his fusion monster that allows him to special summon God cards from his hand. We're using only 1 tribute, so that's annoying. So I got rid of both of those cards, and then he did add Ancient Chant to his hand, so Winged Dragon of Ra is on the way, guys. You already know that much. And then I have Uni Zombie in attack mode, so that's... And then he plays Soul Crossing. He sacrifices all 3 of my cards in order to summon Winged Dragon of Ra, and then he uses his combo along with Blaze Cannon. But before Blaze Cannon, I'm for sure going to use my Right Princess from my hand. And my Right Princess is going to lower everything's attack, so I take considerably less damage than I would have normally. And I only take 5,800 instead of, losing. So now it's all up to what I draw. So this thing's back up to 78. And I draw a Monster Reborn. Probably the most clutch time to draw a Monster Reborn ever. They call me PlotArmorCards for a reason. I got Plot Armor. That's just how it works. So then I can special summon my King of the Skull Servants and just attack and call it a game, guys. Well, guys, that was it for my King of the Skull Servants and Skull Servant deck duels. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. And oh my goodness, look at the time.
It's time to do.